think that sleep is a head thing, but it has a lot to do with what's happening in our bellies. And now to really drive this point home, a new study that I broke down in Eat Smarter, cited in Frontiers in Psychiatry, peer-reviewed journal, purported that our microbiome helps to regulate our sleep and mental state through the action of the microbiome gut-brain axis. Your microbiome is at the very root of your sleep wellness. And this leads us to our first list of foods to improve your overall sleep quality. Foods that are rich in prebiotic fibers, resistant starch, and probiotics. This first list that I want to share with you is coming right from the pages of Eat Smarter, are also foods that are rich in potassium. And I did this very specifically because a study cited in the journal Sleep found that potassium can help improve sleep efficiency, meaning that you go through your sleep cycles more effectively. All right, it's not necessarily about sleeping a certain amount of hours. It's the quality of that sleep. And potassium is one of those key drivers, this important electrolyte in optimizing your sleep cycles themselves. And also the researchers found, and again, this was published in the journal Sleep, that potassium helped to reduce wake after sleep onset. So meaning that you wake up less often. Now, when we're talking about potassium and also hitting those categories of resistant starch, probiotics, prebiotic fibers, we've got a diversity here. When you think about potassium, a lot of folks think about bananas, all right? B-A-N-A-N-A-S is bananas, all right? Bananas are often touted as the best source of potassium, which, funny enough, they actually happen to be a very high source of resistant starch that helps to feed our friendly microbes that have a big relationship to regulating our sleep cycles. All right, resistant starch is something you're going to be hearing a lot more about in the upcoming years. Now, here's the key. There's a certain caveat with this. When the banana is not ripe, when it's a green banana, it's very high in resistant starch. But as it gets more ripe, it goes from a higher starch content to higher sugar content. All right, it's that conversion process. It gets sweeter. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never had a craving for a green banana. All right. If I've ever seen anybody just crack open a green banana, I probably thought some weird things about them. All right. And also that little part of the banana, that little brown part, it's just kind of tastes like real chalky and weird. Some people call it the devil's anus, but it's not that part as well we can do without. All right. Green bananas and the devil's anus. Sorry. So the green banana, as it gets more and more ripe, I think that they call the devil's anus was in Thor Ragnarok as well. Like when it's like some portal in the sky, but don't quote me on that. Anyways, I just had a whole stream of thoughts from that. And shout out to WandaVision. Are you checking out WandaVision? That's going down right now. Very strange, but it's the MCU. I trust you guys. I trust you. All right. So what we can do here is maybe you add a little bit of a green banana to a smoothie. It's going to have benefits for your sleep, as far as the potassium is concerned, and also as a resistant starch to feed the friendly microbes. Or there's even like green banana flour that, again, you want to get high quality, organic if you can, that folks are, you can add to smoothies and baked goods and all kinds of creative ways you can add it in. But if you're not into that, there's so many other options. Okay, so just staying in this lane with potassium as an emphasis and also having some other benefits for our microbes. So a potassium that really supersedes bananas, and you can do without the worry about the sugar or the not tastiness of a green banana, is avocados. All right, avocado. A little fun fact, the kind of one of the roots of the word avocado, it means testicle fruit. You didn't hear that from me though. All right, it grows in trees and pairs. Dangle, never mind. All right. This is taking a turn. I didn't know we would turn this direction. But again, avocados, great. And they're actually, funny enough, they're great for your reproductive system. Many benefits there as well. So avocados are another great source. Plus, you're going to get some prebiotic fibers there too. And again, we're going through lists of foods that have proven benefits in improving our sleep quality. So we've got avocados, green leafy vegetables, incredible source of potassium. And also we're getting some of these prebiotic fibers. All right. In this category of prebiotic fibers to feed our healthy microbes, our quote, friendly flora, because you could take all the probiotics you want. They're not going to be able to colonize and to proliferate in your system and actually stay and give you benefit if you don't have the prebiotic foods that specific strains of bacteria need to eat. If they don't have their preferred food source, they're just going to leave. They're not welcome. All right. So we've got to feed them their preferred food source. And pretty much every real food is going to have some type of prebiotic benefit for some strain of bacteria. All right. Because when you're eating a food, when you're eating a blueberry, when you're eating an avocado, you're eating the avocado's microbiome. Just think about that. It's remarkable. We just see these things that are just some random entity over there as food, but it is a living thing and it has its own microbiome and we're taking that on. It's remarkable, right? So as we're adding in more diversity of real foods, we're adding in, we don't have to just go and get a list of prebiotics, from a Google search, because it's going to be very limited in its scope and in the thought process is coming from the researchers. It's very limited. Like, oh, we know we got inulin here, whatever the case might be. So Jerusalem artichoke, garlic, onions, leeks. We know that that's on the list, but every real food has prebiotic potential. So avocados is another great source of potassium. Green leafy vegetables, as mentioned, sweet potatoes, great source of potassium. Sea veggies, oh my goodness, especially dulse. This is one of the most remarkable sources of potassium. All right, gram per gram, best source of potassium you're going to find is dulse. And also they got these prebiotic capacities as well. On that lane, even if there's a beverage that's great with potassium, coconut water. All right, coconut water. I got put on a coconut water, man, what was that probably about 15 years ago. My mother-in-law, she would go to this world market and get these coconuts, these young coconuts. And I'm from Missouri. I never seen such things. I didn't get it at all. But, cracking those bad boys open, I had down to a science. You also feel like some kind of way about it, too. When you're cracking open that young coconut, you feel like you could play, play a ukulele or whatever. Like, just hand it to me. Like, all of a sudden, you just got that skill. You don't, but you just feel it. So, yeah, coconut water is another great source of potassium. And again, there's microbiome. You're consuming the microbiome of that coconut as well. So I don't want to be limited in our thinking of what prebiotics are. It's bigger than just this, what we call fiber. It's so much bigger and broader. Also, with resistant starch and potassium, white beans, all right, black beans. Some diet frameworks don't allow it. They don't allow it. And that's okay. But maybe for you, maybe your genes, maybe your ancestors for the past centuries have thrived by incorporating beans, and it's been specifically feeding strains of bacteria that have protected you against weight gain, against inflammation. However, maybe the beans are a causative factor for some related health issues, because they definitely can be. Of course, one of our most incredible guests, Dr. Stephen Gundry, multi New York Times bestselling author, brilliant physician. Oh my goodness. I love him so much. Such a great guy. He's seen incredible results. He wrote The Plant Paradox, and teaching people, he really brought to the market the understanding of these lectins, right? These plant poisons the plants have built into them to protect them, right? So, but there are ways, if they're done in traditional fashion, for example, like using a pressure cooker or soaking the beans. Like, people weren't just making random bread back in the day. When you hear about, these like scriptural references, oftentimes it's fermented, right? It's prepared in a way that's much more intentional versus today's like factory farming dwarf wheat, this, genetically manipulated, whatever that is. It's so far removed from how it's produced, what we evolved with, and also the way that it's prepared. Okay, shows up as Wonder Bread. I wonder why I have health problems, right? So anyways, white beans, black beans also fit into this category. Again, if it's right for you, preferably if they're soaked and or sprouted, cooked properly, it might be very helpful for you. Because again, Eat Smarter is a unifier of all the best diet frameworks. We provide solutions and strategies for everybody. Nobody is left out of the equation. All of these wonderful diet frameworks that are out there, they get results for patients. They absolutely do. But consistently, there's a large percentage of people who don't get the results. And that's because many of these frameworks can be very dogmatic and prevent you from having something that you need, and also encouraging you to eat something that might actually not really resonate with your system. All right. So we have to keep both of those in context. So moving on and looking at, again, rich sources of potassium. We're just starting here. This is the first list. The first list. And also probiotic/prebiotic capacities to support your microbes that help to create your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters. We also have yogurt is in this category. Again, clinically proven. It's a great source of potassium. And also we get in this conversation, what kind of yogurt? Well, obviously it's not Go-Gurt. We're not talking about Go-Gurt. The squirtable, like artificial colored, like whatever, that stuff. Okay. So ideally we want to get full fat. And we talk about this in Eat Smarter, the nuances, whether you're doing the plant-based or, the dairy-based, but we want to avoid, it should be coming from a source that's also consuming its normal diet. So ideally, if it's grass-fed, full fat, so it's actually the whole kit and caboodle, but also then there's plant-based versions of yogurt that are becoming very popular today. It doesn't have as much clinical evidence to its benefit. But tests are being done all the time. And I just want us to be able to have the data at hand that exists and use it if we deem it something good for us. And also in that camp, when we're talking about potassium, we've got fish like mackerel and salmon. They don't meet the prebiotic fiber rule necessarily, but they're also exceptional sources of potassium. So there's a wide spectrum of different foods. This is just some. We definitely, please hear me, you have to be consistent every day. Target something that has a good source of potassium because it's required to build your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters. All right, this electrolyte, because our bodies are largely running on this kind of electrical currency. It helps our cells to literally communicate. Our brain cells need electrolytes in order to communicate. Signal transduction. They cannot talk to each other unless we have adequate electrolytes. Okay, now next up, before we dive into more specific foods and nutrients we want to target, again, to build our sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters, even that's not going to matter much if we don't remove the things that are damaging our sleep-related hormones, neurotransmitters, and our microbes, our microbiome, that all of this associated activity is controlling our sleep quality on so many different levels that we've already covered. So we need to remove the cause of the problem, what can be hurting us. And so we're going to just go through a few of these. All of these are listed out in Eat Smarter. But peer-reviewed studies have shown that each of these have, again, proven detrimental impact on your gut bacteria. All right, the same gut bacteria that communicate with your cells in your gut, creating your sleep-related hormones and neurotransmitters. These are proven. Agricultural chemicals, pesticides, fungicides, herbicides, rodenticides. Side means to kill. It means to kill, right? The suffix side means to kill, but it's not going to kill anything in you. It just kills the little pesties. You're made. We are more of these single-celled organisms than we are human cells by far. All right. Our microbiome is that. It's these very small entities that are very susceptible to chemical exposure. Most agricultural chemicals, the vast majority of the thousands of them, thousands approved for use for growing human food by our EPA, right? Environmental Protection Agency. Why are they allowing so much? I thought he was going to protect me. I'm part of the environment. EPA? Nah, it doesn't work like that. These organizations, we have to look out for ourselves and we have to encourage policy change. All right. So, but these chemicals, they're either estrogenic or neurogenic. So estrogenic, meaning that they disrupt the reproductive cycle of very small organisms. or they're neurogenic, damaging the nervous system of these